everybody, Jennifer Carney here from Carney's Tutoring again. Today we're going to be talking about point slope form. You can also hear this called point slope formula, and that's okay as well. It is exactly what it sounds like. A teacher is going to give you a point. She's also going to give you a slope, and you have to put it into a certain form, okay? Just like it sounds. We are going to be using our slope-intercept form, which we saw in the last video, is y equals mx plus b. This is slope-intercept form or formula. I also like to call it y equals. So whatever you want to call it, stick with it and go with that. This is very important. If you are unsure about this formula or what I'm talking about, please go back and watch the slope video to understand more about this. Remember, I'm going to put a little reminder here that m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. That is where the line is going to cross the y-axis. Again, if these are confusing to you, just hit back and go back and watch that slope video and they'll make more sense. Point slope form, the formula is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now you're thinking to yourself right now, oh my God, more letters. How am I going to be able to figure this out and memorize them? These forms, guys, remember these formulas are going to be given to you. So whether you have a formula sheet for your tests, you will for any standardized testing, or your teacher writes them on the board, these will be given to you. So they don't necessarily have to be memorized, but you'll be using them so much that you will memorize them. And the point slope form over here on the left, let me change colors here, the y and the x, these plain ones, the y and the x, will never change to numbers or anything. Those will always just stay y and x. The ones with the little ones, these two right here, those are going to change, as well as your m, which is the same over here, which is your slope. All right, so the m means the same thing. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and we're going to fill these in here. All right, remember our x and our y are our ordered pairs. That's where you're going to get those numbers from. So this right here and this right here is where you're going to get the numbers from, okay, x and y. And your m is another reminder you're going to get from your slope. So what your teacher is going to do, example number 1 over here, is she's going to give you a point. We're going to use example 3, 2, and then she's going to give you a slope. I'm going to say slope is 4. And what you're going to do is you're actually going to solve it. Okay, so first things first, you want to write down your point slope formula. The reason why I'm using point slope formula is because I was given a point and a slope. Okay, whenever you're given a point and a slope, you're going to use point slope formula. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fill in. All right, remember this plain y is just going to stay plain y. I'm going to drop down my minus. y1, remember this is your x, this is your y. y1 is 2. My slope is over here, it's 4. X is going to stay the same, drop down your minus, and your x in your ordered pair is 3. There you go. All I did was I dropped down these letters right here. Remember the x and the y plain ones stay the same. If you're wondering where I got our minuses from, look at that. I just dropped them down. I didn't change any type of signs and I filled in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to distribute. So I'm going to keep the left side of the equal side the same. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to distribute this 4 into this parentheses. Distribute means multiplication. So I'm going to go ahead and 4 times x, mush them together, you get 4x. And 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Make sure you make that a negative 3. If you're unsure about how to multiply those or you feel uneasy about the signs, use your calculator. In 8th grade or above, you should be using a calculator. I like the TI-84 pluses. Those work the best. And that'll just help you. Just punch it in. No one knows what you're punching in. I always tell my kids to go ahead and draw a line down the middle where the equal sign is. It helps separate the left side of the equation from the right side of the equation. It's very good visually to help you see that. What we're going to do now, we want this equation right here to look like slope-intercept form. So the whole point in doing this today is to get this equation over here to look like this one. That's our goal, okay? So if our goal is slope-intercept form, that means that we want y by itself. And currently y is not by itself. So what we have to do is we have to move this -2 to the other side of the equation. And how do we move a number to the other side of the equation? We do the opposite. Okay, so what is the opposite of -2? You got it, +2. Great job. And what we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other side of the equation. Very good. Make sure you add it with the other whole number that's over there. So these two are going to go ahead and cancel out, and I'm just going to be left with y on this side of the equation. There's nothing to combine with the x's because x's can only be combined with x's. So I'm just going to bring that down. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to solve the right side of the equation. -12 and 2 gives me -10. Again, if you're unsure of that, just punch it in your calculator. This is actually the answer to that equation right here. So you took your point slope form and you used what they gave you, the point right here and the slope. You put it into the formula and it spit this out, and that is your answer. Your teacher from here could ask you what the y-intercept is on the equation. Remember, your y-intercept is always the number that is not next to the x. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the end. If you're unsure about that, again, go back and watch the slope video. It's a number that is not with the x, so the y-intercept here is -10. Let's go ahead and I'm going to give you a little bit different of an example. So I'm going to give you a point of -2, and we're going to use 5. And I'm going to give you a slope of -4. Okay, so what we're going to have to do, I want you to put this, the instructions would say put this in y= form or slope-intercept form. So to do that, since I was given a point and a slope, you need your point slope formula. Again, if you don't remember what it is, this will be written on the board for you, or you'll have your formula sheet in front of you. It is on the formula sheet. Okay, what we're going to do from here is we're going to fill it in. Remember, our plane y and plane x remain the same. Our y1, if you need to, come up here and just write those down. No big deal. Our y is 5. Our slope is -4. Slope goes in place of m. Our plane x stays the same. Now notice this, I have a negative, bring down that negative, and then x is also a negative. This is what trips people up a lot. They'll just put -2 here. But remember, there is a negative that you need to drop down, and then this number over here is also a -2. From there, you can go ahead and 2 negatives make a positive, and you can change them. But I'd always write them down so that you don't confuse yourself. From here, I'm going to go ahead and draw my line down the middle. I love separating those two sides. It makes it a lot easier. I'm a very visual person. I'm going to go ahead and keep that side the same so I can distribute. I'm going to distribute. Don't forget, this is a -4. I'm going to distribute in this -4. So that's going to be -4x, and -4 times +2 is -8. Okay, watch those signs. Again, if you don't feel confident with your signs, go ahead and punch in your calculator. It does it for you. All right, remember, my goal is to get it in y= format or slope format, which is right over here again. So I want y by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and add 5 because that's the opposite of -5. So the opposite of -5 is +5. Good job. And what we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other side of the equation. Great job. So then we're going to get y equals, we're going to drop down that -4x because there's no other x's to combine. And we're going to combine the two numbers on the end right here, 5 and -8. And that gives us -3. That is your answer right here. Now your slope, which they already gave you, but is -4 because it is right here next to the x. And your y-intercept, if they ask, they don't always ask, is -3. Again, in the last video, I told you they may have you write it like that in your y value. That is y-intercept form. It's just using a different format to be able to get to this y = mx plus b. Remember, you're using y-intercept form when you're given a point and a slope. point slope form. That's why you're using that. If you get stuck on a difficult problem or need me to do a more advanced problem of this because you don't understand, just go ahead and comment below and I'll go ahead and do a video on that or shoot you some information on how to solve that one. If you have any questions, let us know. Thank you.